That's because you defied me.
Even if you regret it, it's too late.
My boss, Kate, and her colleague, Michael, couldn't stop snickering. I pressed my lips into a thin line and bowed. Then Kate sighed unhappily.
I was expecting to hear the howls of a defeated dog, but it seems the old man can't even make a sound.
Such a letdown.
As I stared at the ground, wondering what to do next, Kate pressed further. Something stirred deep inside me. Last month, after being suddenly fired and taking early retirement, as expected, Kate has been calling me nonstop. But this was anticipated. Now, I actually feel sorry for them. I could have helped with the handover, but you wasted that chance. Facing the direction of my former workplace where Kate probably was, I lamented. So, what will you do now? Will you reflect or just double down? It's going to be interesting. They probably just realized. Did you seriously think you could run that department on your own? You're completely mistaken. The phone kept ringing. Several voicemails recorded Kate's furious yelling. Out of curiosity, I played one. My name is John Scott, and I'm 50 years old. I work for an IT company. I'm currently in charge of EdTech-related projects. EdTech is a term that combines education and technology, and I juggle several projects like learning apps and online seminar systems. I was headhunted by a certain individual to join this company. However, at the strong request of the one who made the offer, I haven't disclosed much about my previous job or detailed history to my colleagues. Some people were curious about my background when I first joined, but that curiosity waned within a year. However, due to this period's personnel changes, attention has once again turned to me. The main reason is,
I hate seeing this old guy's face first thing in the morning.
complaining loudly on purpose while running her hand through her long hair was Kate Morrison, who became our new department head this spring. She's 38, a dozen years younger than me. She puts a lot of effort into her appearance, always having unnaturally white teeth.
Why do I have to have such a dirty old man as my team member?
Kate sighed dramatically. I just bowed without saying anything. In situations like this, it's best to clear your mind. Then, from behind, I heard Michael's overly enthusiastic voice.
Kate, you're looking beautiful as always.
Oh, stop it, Michael.
He is Kate's favorite young employee, 32-year-old Michael Brown. It's clear he's sucking up to Kate for his own career advancement. Michael leaned in closer and whispered so others couldn't hear.
Did you change your perfume by any chance?
Hey, don't mess with older women, gosh.
Sorry.
They seem to be flirting, but this is a workplace. If you're going to do that, take it outside, I thought with a short sigh when they weren't looking. Is this company going to be okay? To an outsider, it might even look like Michael was playing Kate. But I know the truth. Kate has another man she's truly interested in. It's the head of HR. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense for her to be appointed as a department head despite her limited experience and short tenure. It's like a daytime soap opera. Unaware of this, Michael is trying to win Kate over. However, she's a step ahead, being older and more experienced. In fact, Michael is the one being manipulated.
Michael, I'm taking all that youthful energy of yours.
I wonder when Michael will realize that Kate is sucking the life out of him like a witch. When he finally does, he'll regret wasting his youth. I muttered to myself as I was lost in thought. Kate attacked me again. She pointed at me while looking at the shared employee schedule.
Are you out in the field again today, old man? If you're not in the office, I can't keep track of what you're doing.
Sorry, I have to go for a meeting.
You can do that online. It's just an excuse.
Our company is in IT after all. Kate has a point. But this is what the client wants. The client insists on meeting in person, so there's no other choice. At this, Kate folded her arms and clicked her tongue. She should know about the client's request since I've shared this information with her. She just wants to complain.
Don't slack off. I know you barely do any work.
Then, I'm heading out. I slung my backpack over my shoulder and hurried out of the office. As I walked past Michael, he smirked and mouthed the words.
You're useless.
Michael said it clearly to me. That evening, after returning from my meetings, I noticed an employee frantically working.
What should I do?
She was pale, glancing between her computer screen and some paper documents, holding her head in her hands. Is something wrong?
Oh, John, welcome back. I forgot about an important task, and we were supposed to outsource this part of the system. I'm worried we won't make it in time.
Calm down. I tried to soothe my panicked colleague. Can you show me all the relevant materials?
Oh yes, here it is. What should I do? This is going to affect other departments too.
I raised an eyebrow. This was my chance to shine.
Wait, John, what are you doing?
Ignoring her concern, I quickly opened my laptop and started coordinating with various parties via email, phone, and chat. Yes, can we work with that schedule? Thank you. I didn't hesitate to use my connections. I even called some contacts from companies I had worked with before. I should inform the sales team as well. It's important to act quickly and coordinate properly. All right, done.
Excuse me. What's the situation now?
I smiled at my bewildered colleague. I've arranged for Star City Corporation, whom I used to work with, to handle the task. It will be a bit more expensive, but they'll provide excellent after support, making maintenance easier if anything goes wrong. When I said that, my colleague seemed to have an epiphany.
I was focusing on cost and delivery time. I didn't consider potential emergency errors. I messed up in selecting the contractor.
She looked down, showing her regret. I'm glad your oversight turned out to be a plus. If there are any more issues, let me know anytime.
What's this about an issue?
Somehow, Kate had overheard and now stood before us.
Is there a problem? Don't make it my responsibility.
Instead of managing her team's progress, Kate was quick to cover herself. I frowned instinctively. Don't worry. We handled it before it became a problem.
But the cost went up, right? I heard everything.
Michael, who had been standing behind Kate, chimed in. Kate cried hysterically at those words.
Hey, old man, what are you doing on your own?
You don't have that authority.
Intimidated by their shrill voices, my colleague closed her eyes tightly. Seeing no other choice, I stepped forward. I will report the budget details later. However, considering the cost effectiveness, I believe this is the best solution. Kate pouted and retorted.
You just wanted to look good in front of the younger staff, didn't you? It's all just empty words.
On what basis? Then, Michael raised his eyebrows and sided with Kate.
Actually, you should have consulted with Kate from the start. She's a charismatic boss, you know? Right, Kate?
Michael gave Kate a creepy upward glance, and Kate responded with a satisfied smile.
Yes, I am charismatic. I like the sound of that.
She looked enraptured, as if she were intoxicated by her own image. It seemed her mood had improved. However, I bluntly said to them, a good leader isn't defined by charisma. The greater and stronger the charisma, the more likely they are to be remembered as history's worst villains.
What?
Oops, I realized I had said too much. Kate gave me a suspicious look. That's a quote from the famous Austrian management scholar, Draco Barwin. When I answered apologetically, Michael snorted with laughter.
Wow, quoting famous people like that, huh? Totally cringe-worthy, dude.
Seriously, for a moment, I thought you were crazy.
They mocked me and laughed funny.
Really, what is this old guy even talking about?
Unbelievable. It's getting to me.
I couldn't stand being ridiculed any longer, so I quickly left the scene. Less than a month later, I decided to take early retirement. It all started with a small incident. One day, a different colleague than the one I helped before suddenly messaged me.
John, can I ask for some advice?
I immediately agreed, and from across the room, I made eye contact with the person sitting there. I walked over to him, noticing his worried expression. Is something wrong?
I tried the method you showed me the other day, but I couldn't get along with the local team. At this rate, we won't meet the release deadline.
I see. Do you know the root cause of the problem?
We haven't been able to articulate it well with each other.
I nodded thoughtfully as I listened to my colleague. The project he's currently handling involves developing an educational support application in collaboration with a foreign government. This project is a key initiative for our company, and failure is not an option. By the way, what did Kate say?
She told me to handle it myself.
What? I couldn't believe my ears. Even though she's his supervisor, Kate had shirked all responsibility and threw in the towel early on. My colleague muttered with a troubled look.
She keeps insisting that the project must be completed at all costs. I'm completely stuck.
Hearing that, I put my head in my hands. She interferes but doesn't lift a finger to help. I racked my brain, trying to find a way to help him. Then it happened.
Just tell the government whatever and force the delivery.
What? Was this some kind of joke? I did a double take at Kate, who had suddenly appeared, but she looked entirely serious.
It's a one-off request anyway, so even if there's trouble once we deliver, it's not our problem. We'll let the locals handle it. Yes, that's what we'll do.
Her face brightened, and she clapped her hands. My colleague and I exchanged strained smiles as we watched her, elated on her own. If we handle it that recklessly, our company's reputation will plummet. I'll think of another plan. My colleague nodded vigorously beside me. However, Kate remained adamant.
If you don't do as I say, you're fired. You know who's backing me, right?
She closed in on me with a smug, defiant smile.
Surely you can guess, right, old man?
Like a snake tightening around its prey, Kate slowly circled me. A few days later, I was suddenly called by the head of HR and was told I was fired. Stunned, I walked aimlessly down the company hallway when I ran into the mastermind behind it all.
That's because you defied me.
Even if you regret it, it's too late.
Kate and Michael couldn't stop snickering as I pressed my lips into a thin line and bowed. Then Kate sighed unhappily.
I was expecting to hear the howls of a defeated dog, but it seems the old man can't even make a sound.
Such a letdown.
As I stared at the ground, wondering what to do next, Kate pressed further.
This is what happens when you act out. You need to learn to maneuver more skillfully to avoid getting hurt.
Defying your boss.
Something stirred deep inside me.
I've been thinking of how to get rid of you for a long time. There's always one in every company. Someone who does nothing, just skates by and collects a paycheck.
It's such a problem.
Holding the box of my belongings, I shot them a sharp look.
What's with that look?
Kate faltered for a moment, seeing a face I had never shown before. But her expression quickly returned to normal.
The project with the foreign government ended up going well, despite everything. That team member worked really hard. Well, I'll be taking all the credit, though.
Your credit? I couldn't hold back any longer. He was abandoned by his supervisor, yet he struggled and fought to see that projects through. You should properly recognize your team members. Otherwise, no one will ever recognize you. It had been a long time since I had been this fired up. Scolding someone is exhausting both mentally and physically. As I panted and my shoulders heaved, I gradually calmed down. Thank you for everything. Could you please assign Michael as my successor? I'm counting on you. I bowed deeply. Michael looked taken aback, but then quickly spread his arms in a mocking gesture.
No need for any handover. You didn't do any real work anyway.
Exactly. I'm glad to be rid of an old, outdated man.
These two had no idea.
Oh, but from now on, I might start throwing in some famous quotes at work.
Stop it. That's not your style.
They were so unaware of their own carelessness, foolishness, and shallowness. They'd undoubtedly regret it soon enough. I straightened up and said, "Understood. I'll be on my way." I felt a bit pathetic for leaving so easily. There was so much more I wanted to say, so much more I wanted to teach them. At least my other colleagues, apart from Kate and Michael, were dedicated and diligent. One of my goals was to support and help them grow. If only they had a bit more humility. But it couldn't be helped. Kate and Michael were truly despicable and beyond saving. This was a first for me. But sometimes it's important to know when to leave. I thought about going to see the person who had offered me this job one last time, but decided against it at the last minute. I knew I had given up halfway. Then the month after my resignation, as expected, Kate's calls have been nonstop, just as I anticipated. Now, I feel a strong sense of sympathy for them. I should have helped with the handover. How foolish to miss that opportunity. I turned towards my former workplace where Kate probably was and sighed. What will you do now? Will you reflect or just double down? I'm curious to see. They probably realized by now. Do you really think you can run that department on your own? How misguided. The phone kept ringing. There were several voicemails with Kate's furious voice recorded on them. Out of curiosity, I played one.
Why aren't you answering? Explain yourself. All our contracts have been canceled. We're in a $17 million deficit. Everyone mentions your name when I ask what's going on. What happened?
Now, it's time to reveal the truth.
Who is that guy?
The chaos had started the day after I resigned. What happened in the department led by Kate that caused all the contracts to be canceled? And why did it result in a $17 million deficit? The clues are likely in the explanations given by my colleagues I had helped along the way.
Now that I think about it, John was always observing everyone. He was the first to notice when I was struggling.
Yeah, John was really easy to talk to, and he was incredibly knowledgeable.
Exactly. When he switched gears, his eyes would light up, and he'd resolve issues in no time.
He had tons of connections outside the company too. For overseas projects, he gave great advice on how to overcome language barriers and collaborate with the locals.
Starting with these two, other employees began to remember and speak about me. Remember that time? Yeah, John helped with that too.
Who is he?
Kate shouted, losing her patience.
Wow,
Michael suddenly started scratching his head.
how many tasks was that old man handling? There's no way I can manage this avalanche of emails. It's impossible for me.
What? What's happening now?
Procuring materials, securing personnel, assessing credit risks, understanding the situation, managing the schedule and budget, political instability. There are so many things to consider.
He handled all this by himself? That's impossible.
Kate's face turned increasingly pale. Just then, one of my colleagues answered a call from a client. After talking for a while, she hesitantly raised her hand.
It's from a client that John had been working with. They said if he's not there, they will cancel the contract.
What?
I'm sorry, but I got a similar call over here.
The orders were canceled one after another, and the expected sales went into decline. As a result, Kate's department ended up with a $17 million deficit.
This can't be happening. How can one missing employee cause all this?
Kate's shoulders trembled as she struggled to accept the harsh reality. Yet, even at this point, no one could clearly identify my true identity.
A dream? Was it all a dream? Maybe John Scott never existed in the first place? Yes, that must be it.
Well, Kate, that's a bit much.
Or maybe he was an elf, working alone at night?
Just as Kate's thoughts were on the verge of breaking, that person appeared.
He's a legendary project manager.
The president, Tom, finally revealed my identity to the employees. And now, here he was, sitting alone in front of me. You came all the way to my house. We were in the residence lounge of my apartment building in the city.
I headhunted you for this company, of course. How could you just leave without saying anything?
Please don't twist the facts. I didn't leave. Actually, I was let go. When I counted, Tom averted his gaze awkwardly. After a moment of silence, he spoke hesitantly.
There's someone waiting outside. Would it be okay if they joined us?
Sure. I had a hunch. The president slowly got up and opened the lounge door, inviting a woman to come in. However, she looked sullen and was reluctant to enter. Kate, thank you for coming. Please have a seat. Kate glared at me with resentment. I thought she might have come to apologize, but that didn't seem to be the case.
What is this? Are you kidding me?
She still seemed furious. Tom told Kate to calm down.
Your bad habit of taking out your anger on others. You need to stop that.
You were deceiving us all along. You were actually incredibly competent, weren't you?
Kate glared at me with wide eyes. I'm sorry to keep this quiet. I was supporting your department from behind the scenes.
Supporting? You were just sneaking around on your own. Who do you think you are?
Kate stormed into the lounge and slammed the table. The concierge, who had been quietly observing from a distance, looked over in surprise. Tom frowned.
Kate, he was a former professor of economics at a prestigious university in Silicon Valley. That's where he honed his project management skills.
Project management?
A project manager ensures a project's success by securing personnel, creating detailed plans, managing quality, costs, and budgets, and overseeing the work to completion on time.
They're even considered potential future executives.
Kate's mouth dropped open. In my previous job, I had the authority to approve decisions up to $40 million, something that usually requires executive-level judgment. As I spoke calmly, she nervously asked,
What did you do before you came here?
I looked up at the ceiling and closed my eyes tightly. My career has been extensive and varied. Project managers have opportunities to work in various industries. In my previous job, I was the chief responsibility officer for a plant construction project. Before that, I managed a near-bankrupt football team. Prior to that, I was in charge of a major renovation of an indoor amusement park in another country. And if I recall correctly, before that.
Enough.
Even Tom looked at me with admiration.
Wherever he goes, he leads projects to great success. That's why he's known as a legendary project manager.
Feeling embarrassed, I scratched my head. Kate, however, leaned back, clearly displeased with our conversation.
Then you should have revealed his identity from the start. This is such a deceitful way to do things.
Would your arrogant and self-centered behavior have changed if we had told you from the beginning?
Well, that's...
Kate faltered, her words trailing off. Was she recalling her past rude comments and despicable behavior towards me? But it was too late. If we had told you, wouldn't you have just dumped all your work on me? You already did that to your team members.
I wasn't aware of that. Is that true?
Unable to deny or confirm in front of the president, Kate bit her lower lip. The task given to me by Tom was not just about project management, but to strengthen that department and build a top-tier team in the industry. To achieve that goal, I deliberately downplayed my abilities. While addressing issues, I aimed to elevate the team as a whole. I intended to gradually distribute my tasks to the right people. Your department, including you, is young and energetic, but lacks experience and mature knowledge. And most importantly, the leader's character is terrible. I told her firmly.
What? How dare you say that?
The original candidate for department head was someone else. But when the decision was made, your name was there instead.
Well, that's...
She couldn't admit that the head of HR had pushed her appointment through. I tried to stay in the background. Young people today are incredibly busy. It's all about time efficiency, right? You probably thought doing field work and interviews was ridiculous. Kate fell silent when asked abruptly. But those steady efforts are crucial in the end. The larger the project, the more you need to build trust both inside and outside the company for it to succeed. Absolutely. You dismissed the wisdom of Draco Barwin, whom I deeply respect. If you call yourself a manager, at least read one of his books. Kate looked defeated, her mouth opening and closing without words.
I heard you instructed your team member to deliver a subpar system to a foreign government. The $17 million deficit is due to clients pulling out after hearing those rumors. This industry is a small world.
I was just desperate to meet the deadline at any cost.
I sharply rebuked the pleading Kate. Your poor judgment hurt your team members, lost clients' trust, and disappointed consumers using the system. You have no leadership qualities. None at all.
You don't have to go that far.
The president nodded deeply in agreement.
It seems the position of department head wasn't right for you.
Tom, please wait. Give me another chance.
It's impossible. Give it up.
With that, Tom stood up, gave a slight bow, and headed for the exit.
Please wait. I worked so hard to get to this position.
Tom stopped in his tracks. I swallowed nervously, wondering what he would say next.
The head of HR, who mixed personal and professional matters, will also be held accountable. I won't ask about the nature of your relationship.
Without looking back, Tom left the lounge.
It's over.
Kate collapsed on the spot, completely abandoned. Within weeks, an emergency board meeting was held. The head of HR was demoted and had his salary reduced, barely staying with the company. But the real issue was that his affair with Kate was exposed to his wife. As a result, he was hit with a hefty alimony claim and dragged into a messy divorce. He couldn't focus on work anymore. Naturally, Kate faced similar repercussions. The executives labeled her as having zero management skills and stripped her of her department head position. Kate was reassigned to a regional branch, thinking it would help her escape the divorce drama, and she accepted the transfer. But reality wasn't so kind. Her former lover's wife pursued her to the new location, ensuring she paid every penny of the alimony. Kate, now facing demotion, salary cuts, and a significant alimony payment, became exhausted and looked much older than her 38 years. Clinging desperately to her job, she now resembled a withered old woman, muttering to herself every day. They say she mutters to herself eerily every day.
How many years until retirement? How much more to pay off the alimony?
Meanwhile, Michael, who had always followed Kate around, found himself isolated. His past insults and careless comments had alienated his colleagues and clients. With no one to back him up, he eventually resigned. He recklessly started a pancake shop in the city, but predictably, it failed. Now, he's stuck with a mountain of unused ingredients and kitchen equipment, struggling to pay the rent.
So that's how things settled.
I see. Toom cleared his throat.
How about coming back?
I felt bad for the pleading president, but I had already lined up my next job. I've been offered a position as a project manager to oversee a major renovation of a shopping district in a rural area.
I see. That's understandable.
The United States is now filled with shuttered shopping streets. Shopping districts are valuable tourist attractions in their areas. I wanted to do whatever I could to help improve this situation.
Good luck. The American Draco Barwin.
The president used the name of my most respected management scholar to encourage me.